Hi, I'm Brian Perez, and I play saxophones for the Houston Jazz Orchestra, also director of jazz studies at Texas Southern University. And I'm going to be playing this jazz saxophone Etude number 3, written by Rick Condit of Lamar University. It's a really great tune with a lot of nice chord progressions and really nice melody and nice brisk tempo. So let's play it, and then let's talk about some tips and tricks on how to work on it in your practice sessions. So the two biggest challenges in this etude is the tempo and the chord changes. The tempo is a very brisk tempo. You have half note equals 110. So it moves along pretty quickly. So make sure that you're taking the time to really slow it down and practice in slow increments and really working out a lot of these more challenging passages. They also have a lot of resources on the TJEA website, have some tracks with some great rhythm sections at some varying tempos, so you can get some practice at a slower tempo before you start getting into the quicker tempos. But make sure before you hop onto those backing tracks that you're really taking the time to record, to practice at your own pace, on your own, and really getting some of these passages under your fingers. Making sure you'll be able to play something 5 to 8 times perfectly in a row before you jump up to that next tempo level. So really taking your time and being diligent with that. That'll help. The other thing is the key centers. Okay, this is based on Coltrane changes. It's a series of very sophisticated harmonic progressions that goes through a lot of distantly related keys in a very short amount of time. With this specific etude, it goes through C sharp or D flat major, F major, and A major, all in a very quick amount of time. So what I would recommend is going through those key centers and practicing your scales up and down the horn and really getting familiar with those scales in order to kind of familiarize with yourself with some of these patterns. And then since the chord changes are written into your part, making sure that you're looking at those while you're practicing these and knowing that that's the key that they're in. And that can be a helpful tool. So like if we're looking at measure 10, I see a B minor to an E7 to an A major. Well, that's a 2-5-1 in A major. So I know that all of these notes are going to be in A major. So, okay, so I knew all of those notes were going to be in the key center of A major. So I didn't have to really guess as to what accidentals I'd run into. I already kind of knew what they were going to be. And another thing that stuck out to me was the D sharp. The D sharp is not naturally found in A major, so it's a non-harmonic tones. It gives that line some interest and some some depth of nuance. So using that to your advantage in phrasing, not just glossing over that, but making it stick out. So practice these, isolate these passages that are in specific keys, practice those 3 different key centers. I think that'll help kind of wrap your fingers around those finger patterns that you'll find in this etude. The other thing is the time feel. It's a samba, and it's a little different than when you're playing a standard swing. So, and if you're wondering about, well, how do I phrase this when I'm trying to play a samba? How do I go about phrasing that? Always listen to your rhythm section. And on these backing tracks that they have on the website, they have a really great rhythm section, and you can just listen in to what they're doing, and they're going to provide all of the subdivision of all of your different rhythms. So if you were playing this etude and you were playing it as a swing, the drummer would probably be like bum bum ba dum dang a dang dang a ding bang a doom ga doom ga doom ga bum ga dum. It's a little more bounce to it, okay, a little more separation of the notes, and so you would probably want to interpret it with that in mind. So bum da ba da ba da So I've got a little bounce in my articulation to match what a drummer would be doing. But this is a samba, so the drummer's not going to be doing that. The drummer's going boom ska doon ska ba boom ska ba ka boom ska boom ska ba. Okay, so there's a little different feel in the rhythm section. So listen to that and then match your 8th notes and your divisions accordingly. 1, 2, gon ska ga. Okay, so my 8th notes are a little more evenly spaced out as opposed to swing style. And I was just thinking about what a drummer would be doing and how I would interact with them. So put on those backing tracks and just play a C major scale up and down. It might not align with the chord changes, but just listen to the rhythm section, specifically the drummer, and try to get your rhythms to line in with what's going on with the rhythm section, because you want it to be a cohesive whole. The next thing is the phrasing. These are really long phrases which prove to be really challenging as you're working them up. The way I'm phrasing them is from the very beginning, there's really not a good place to take a breath until measure 11. So I'm going to go that whole way without taking a breath at all. In the beginning, you might be able to put some catch breaths as it's slower, but as it gets faster, that's going to sound really intrusive into your melodic line when you're trying to insert breaths that are a little less natural. So really practicing marking in your breaths so that you're not second-guessing yourself and you have a really good plan for where you're going to breathe. And that you can just kind of put that in the back. I know all my breaths are marked. I'm just going to put that in the back of my mind and just read what's there. So you go all the way up to measure 11. The next one's a shorter phrase. It goes from measure 12 to measure 15. And then you have from measure 15 going all the way to measure 23. That's a longer phrase. And then 24 all the way to measure 29, and then another 3 measures to finish out the etude. So there's really only like 5 phrases in there, which means you're only really going to be breathing 4 times through the whole etude. So really working on getting your air capacity up and really trying to practice getting these breaths and expanding these phrases. So I would also say that the articulation, the great thing about this art form is that there's a lot. They don't put too much information in here, which leaves a lot of the phrasing and articulation and nuance and interpretation up to the artist. So the only thing I really am noticing in this etude is that he marked most of his quarter notes with staccato markings, and most of those come on the upbeats. Okay, so if I was playing a swing etude and I looked at the first measure, I would probably default to playing those 2 quarter notes short. So I'd probably play right from the very first measure. But since he marked every other quarter note with a staccato note, I'm going to assume that he probably wanted those long, and this is not a swing chart, this is a samba, so he might wanted a little different feel. So I'm going to play them long. And notice that quarter note E was marked short in the etude. So watching those articulations, watching where the intervals are in the phrases, watching the contour of the phrases so that you can shape your phrases so they have a nice up and down and tension and release character to them. So if I play through this kind of monotone from the beginning, it'll probably sound something like this. Right? All the notes were right for the most part, but there really wasn't a contour of the line. There wasn't really a kind of an overarching rhythm here, right? So let's put a little more contour in it, a little more tension and release in our line, kind of based on the up and down shape on it, and based on some of the intervals, whether things are scalar, whether things are moving up by thirds, or whether there's a bigger interval in there. Right, so kind of giving it a little more push and pull with the dynamics, and using that is achieved through your air support, and kind of following the contour of the line so that that melody has a really nice contour to it, and it has a musicality to it, and it's not just playing the right notes. Right, we got to bring out the musicality, and that's what's really going to make these etudes convincing and musical and something that should be enjoyed. So I hope those few tips helped out, and enjoy the process. It's a great tune, and enjoy. Good luck.